After living aboard our Catalina 30 sailboat for about a year and a half now, we wanted to give you an updated tour of the boat and what we've done to it. We've made quite a few changes throughout this last year. This is also our second winter living aboard. We live in a pretty rainy and fairly cold climate here, and so we wanted to share some of our techniques that we found through talking to other liveaboards in the area and also just through spending a really cold winter on the boat. We'll start in the galley, which is on the port side of the boat. This is where we do all of our cooking and where we store most of our food. So starting on this little countertop, it's pretty low here, so we don't really use this for too much cooking. We use it more for storage of pots and pans, and also our ice box. We don't actually use our ice box for refrigeration. We have a mini fridge for that because the ice box does require us to buy a block of ice every week, and that requires it to drain and it just gets a little messy. So instead we use our ice box for non-perishable storage. We have different vegetables, cans, rice, pasta, that kind of thing. It's really good just to kind of throw bulk items in there. This top shelf is where we store our spices, our coffee, and peanut butter, that kind of stuff, more non-perishables. And then same with under here. We have two sliding faces, so we can store a lot more food under there as well. And there's one back here as well that opens up. This is our very small kitchen sink, but we make do with it. It's just the way it is. And then this is sort of our main counter space over here. This is where we do a lot of the prep for our meals. And over here we store things like our compost bucket and just more counter space. It is a pretty tight kitchen and we could probably definitely use a bigger sink, but for right now we've just kind of made routines around it and we're really used to it now. For cooking, originally these boats come with an alcohol stove on a gimbal, and we do still have that stove, but it's not with us right now. It is in storage at the moment. So while we're at the docks and while we're hooked up to shore power, we find it's easiest to cook with electric heat. So this is just an induction burner, and yeah, you plug it in, gives us everything we need. We have one pot and one pan, and that's all we use. We used to have a couple more pots and pans, but we just found they ended up taking up too much space. We do only have the one burner, so we can really only cook with one thing at a time. And yeah, we just make do with that. We have two drawers over here. The top one is just sort of our junk drawer. Holds all of our junk. And the bottom one, we store things like dishcloths and grocery bags and that kind of thing. We also have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen, and yeah, we've mounted it here right in the open so it's easily accessible if we were to need it. For refrigeration, we just have a mini fridge. Again, since we are hooked up to shore power, we just use electric refrigeration, so we don't have to worry about getting ice blocks, and yeah, it's just really simple, easy way of keeping our food nice and cold. It is very, very small, which means we just go get groceries more often and we tend to eat a lot fresher, which is really nice. Back underneath here is where we have our electrical panels. So we have two electrical panels. The first one is for our DC power, and that's hooked up to our batteries on the boat. We have one starter battery and three house batteries, actually, not two. We upgraded. We added another one, and that's charged by our engine, our solar panel, and it gives power to things like the bilge pump, the lights, and our off-grid power sources. The second panel is our AC power, and that's only usable when we're on the dock. So when we're plugged into shore power, that gives us our electrical outlets and just the standard AC power that you get if you're living in a house. Moving on to the starboard side, we've kind of extended our galley area a little bit. Over here we have a toaster oven, which is our oven. Again, it's really, really small. The pan is like miniature size, but we just make do. And if we have to do multiple batches, we have to do multiple batches. This again only works on AC power, so when we're hooked up to shore power. We also picked up this little contraption. It acts as our pantry right now, so we keep things like tea and more non-perishables like pasta and yeah, like legumes, rice, that kind of thing. And this has been really handy for food storage because we like to have some non-perishables on board, but there's not many places where we can store it. So this has been a really great addition. This is our navigation table. The top does lift up, and right now we're just storing, it's kind of like another junk drawer, not gonna lie, but it's like an important junk drawer. So that's what's in there. And underneath is our tool storage slash spare parts slash sealants slash paintbrushes. Basically anything related to maintenance is in here. It's a mess, but it works, and yeah, we find things in there, so that's good to have. On top of the nav table, we have a 750 watt inverter. Again, this is used to convert DC power to AC power when we're off grid. And this is a Wi-Fi extender. Unfortunately, it doesn't work here at the docks, but when we're off the docks, we can use that to try and pick up some Wi-Fi. And beside it is our battery charger. This is really important in the winter times. We don't get a ton of sun in the winter here, and so this keeps our house batteries and starter battery charged up. Right now we only have 100 watts of solar, and in the winter months here, it just doesn't quite keep our batteries charged up. So last year we did add a battery charger, and that's been a huge help. It's really important to maintain your batteries at a high charge. It helps prolong the life of them, and yeah, we really want to do that. So the battery charger has been a really great addition, and we don't have to stress too much about our batteries losing their charge. It does hook up to our AC outlet, so it uses shore power to charge our DC system. Our 100 watt solar panel is mounted at the stern of the boat. It has an adjustable leg which allows us to position it for different angles of the sun. Over here we have our VHF radio, which is very, very old, but that's what we have right now. Maybe someday we'll upgrade it. For now, it does the trick. This is a very old stereo head, which is a project that I started and am yet to complete. We're just in the process of trying to decide what stereo head we want and what kind of sound system we have in here. So right now, the old one stays. And then up here we keep our binoculars and other things we might want close to the hatch, so when we are out sailing we can just sort of reach around and grab it and don't have to come all the way into the cabin to get them. This switch here is for our depth sounder. Again, it's really easy to reach out from the cockpit in and turn it on and turn it off. We keep it off when we're not moving because we don't need it on and it takes battery. We have a water pump with an accumulator. This switch down here controls our water pump, so we can actually leave this water pump switch on as long as our tanks are full. Basically, the water pump fills up the accumulator, which is like a little store of water. We can turn the sink on, no problem. And then once that accumulator drains, then the water pump will fill that back up again. If our tanks are empty and the accumulator can't fill up properly, the water pump will stay on. And so that's when we have the option of turning it off. Or if we leave the boat for a while, we turn it off as well, just in case. We have 2 water tanks on this boat. One is in the V-Berth, so underneath where we sleep. And the second one is on the starboard side of the boat, underneath the couch.
Forgive the droning noise because the ferry's running right now.
This is our couch on the starboard side of the boat, and we just kind of hang out here. We have more storage along the sides of the walls, and yeah, we just kind of keep our camera gear, first aid kit, sunglasses, just sort of odds and ends that we use every single day. These cushions do lift up, and underneath here is our batteries. So we have 3 house batteries underneath here, and also a water tank on the other side.
On the port side, right in the middle of the cabin, we have our main table here and this couch, which is shaped like an L. We spend a lot of our time here. This is where Jilly does a lot of editing. We eat our meals here. Any work that we need to do on our computers, we're usually doing it up here. This table and L couch here is really the heart of the boat. This is our oil lantern. It makes for a cozy light in the winter times. It also lets us know if the boat is moving. When the boat's rocking, we can look up at this. We have our fruit basket here, which is a bit empty right now. It just has a potato, half a potato and 1 piece of ginger in it. Usually that's full of fruits and vegetables. This is our miniature wood stove. It's a Sigmarine and very, very tiny. It has an ash box under here, and this is how you control the draft. Now, we've pretty much only burned compressed sawdust blocks. You can burn little pieces of hardwood or softwood if you want, but the compressed sawdust works really well, and they don't make as much of a mess. We just keep them under the table. We don't use this very much when we're here at the docks because it produces a lot of smoke, and the electric heaters in the boat keep it nice and warm in here. It also lets a fair bit of smoke out the front door. It doesn't always draft super well because the chimney is bent at the top, and it does let some smoke at the front, so it'll leave sort of a sooty residue on the roof. But when we're off grid on anchor somewhere, it does make for a really cozy way of heating up the boat. Behind the table here we have our main storage for plates and bowls and cups. On the top we have cups. We have, one thing we have a lot of on the sailboat is mugs for some reason. We have at least 8 mugs. We used to have a lot more wine glasses, but it's very easy to break glass items on the boat. And then we just have 2 plates, a few bowls, and some plastic containers, and this very nice looking teapot, which we never use. And then we do have a AC reading light back here. We've also got this gooseneck reading light, which is handy because we can add more light to the kitchen, or onto the table here, or onto the roof, and it just makes for sort of a general brightness. And that just, oh, that's our dish scrubber. And we just plug it in here. There's outlets here and here. Those are handy. We plug our phones in there and our computers, and also the dehumidifier. Under the table we have the crown jewel of any liveaboard sailboat. This is our dehumidifier. It's a Noma 200, I believe. It takes out up to 16.6 liters of water out of the air every day. It catches water under here that we just empty in the sink. At some point we may plumb a line in there and have it drain into the bilge, but that's sort of on the list of projects. But this thing has been a game changer. It keeps the humidity in the boat around 30%, and it's been a massive help reducing moisture out in the main cabin here and also in the V-Berth. So yeah, this is a fantastic device. Last year we really struggled with humidity issues, moisture, mold. This has been a really huge help for that, and we're very happy with it. And also under the table we have a space heater. This is a handy location for it because when we're at the table we can warm up our toes, and then if we face it out into the middle, it's a good central location and helps warm up the cabin. And then we have a second space heater here in the back, and the same idea. We can either face it outwards and heat up the main cabin, or we can face it in towards the bed and it'll help heat up the V-Berth. We take our drinking water from these blue jugs. We fill them up with the marina water here, but the reason we drink out of these is just because we're not sure exactly what's in our tanks. This boat is from the 70s, and who knows what there might be in the tank, so we don't drink any water that comes out of the tap. So we just use these blue jugs. We fill them up with the tap water at the hose and carry them inside. It takes us 5 days or so to go through 2 of them. So it's not bad. We usually just fill it up when we're filling the water tanks. And we've gotten very used to that. So we have both AC and DC lights in this boat. This is the AC system here. They're sort of like the house lights. We were able to put some DC lights in that run off the 12-volt system. So this is one of them. We have it right above the table so it casts a lot of light. And this is actually a sort of our main light for the boat. Any of these, they would work off grid and they just come off of our batteries. This boat has an inboard engine and you can access it under the middle cushion here. So this gives us access to the engine. The engine is a universal M25 diesel. These side panels also come off, and so that's how we can do any servicing that's needed.
This is our hanging locker where we store all of the clothes between the 2 of us. So Jonas and I both share this hanging space for our hanged items. Jonas has been nice enough to give me the drawers, so I keep all my clothes in these drawers, and they're quite tiny. Yeah, they're quite small, so neither of us have very many clothes on board. We just sort of have the essentials basically. But yeah, so I store my clothes in these 4, and then Jonas stores his clothes behind here in this sort of cubby space. Across from the hanging locker is our head. Welcome to the head. In here we have a sink, we have an AC outlet, and behind here we have more storage for our toiletries, and naturally we have a head, or a toilet.
You're sitting on it.
This lever is what we use to pump the toilet into the holding tank, which is underneath the couch by the table. And I think we have a very small holding tank. I think it's about 30 liters or so. The marina we're at does have a facilities building which we can use, and that has bathrooms, showers, and laundry facilities. We do have a shower on this boat. The head basically turns into like a wet bathroom, and yeah, you shower right here, and then there's a hole in the floor here that drains the shower water into the bilge and out the back. We don't use that for a couple reasons. A, it would just cause a lot of moisture in here, which we are already struggling with. And B, we have small water tanks, and so we'd have to fill up our water tanks a lot more frequently. And yeah, it's just messy. So we prefer to use the showers provided at the marina we're staying at. The shower nozzle we do have attaches from the sink, and we just hang up the nozzle behind the door here. And that brings us to the V-Berth, which is at the bow of the boat. This is our cozy little bed. It is in the shape of a triangle, so at our feet we have about like this much space, and at our heads is a little bigger than a queen size bed. So it's quite spacious up here, not super spacious down there, but you just get used to it. You kind of sleep on an angle. This was another one of our really big projects last year, and that was to essentially insulate the V-Berth. Like Jonah said earlier, we really struggled with condensation last winter, particularly in the V-Berth, and we got to a point where we'd actually have to tear the whole bed apart every day, put a space heater up here and dry it out to prevent mold from forming. But since we put this interlocking foam pieces up here and the insulation underneath the mattress, we've had pretty much no issues. Occasionally we'll pull everything out to check on it and dry it out, but yeah, it's made a huge difference. and it's a lot warmer in here. The space is quite isolated from the rest of the boat, and so it doesn't really get heated like the rest of the boat does unless we put a space heater up here. So yeah, it definitely helps to keep it a little warmer up here, and it's nice when you roll over to not hit a really cold fiberglass wall. We also have a solar fan up here, so this can both suck air out and pull air in. So when it gets really hot in here in the summer, we can turn it on the in setting and then it'll act like a fan. And then to prevent condensation, it'll actually suck air out, and it really just helps with airflow. Again, since it is fairly isolated from the rest of the cabin, there's not much airflow up here, and every little thing to help prevent moisture makes a really big difference. The last really big addition we had to the boat last winter was our heated blanket. This thing was a game changer. In the wintertime, it gets cold up in the V-berth, and there's nothing worse than trying to sleep when you're really, really cold. But this heated blanket, we can plug into the AC power outlet, which we have one in the V-berth, which makes it even better. And yeah, it keeps us warm all night long. Most of the time we don't even sleep with it on, we just like preheat the bed, and yeah, it makes a huge difference to be able to crawl into a warm bed versus a really cold bed. So this thing has been amazing. And lastly, back behind us we have this really nice little shelf which is at our feet. We store our books up here and some essential oils and really just things that we don't want to get wet. We know there's no leaks up here, we know it's protected up here, and also we read in bed, so that's why we want our books up here, let's be real. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the V-berth. We hope you enjoyed seeing this updated live aboard tour. Slowly but surely, we are working away at a very long project list we have. Overall, this winter has been way more comfortable than last winter. And yeah, we hope to continue working on this boat and getting her in tip-top shape. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.